The Catholic Underground is made possible by your prayer and financial support. We're a new media apostolate that's a 501c3 organization. We produce video podcasts, as well as a number of audio podcasts about our Catholic faith. We also sponsor and coordinate new media events like the Catholicon Expo, which recently happened in Houston. We also do initiatives like the Catholic New Media Institute, which is in development. You can help our efforts with your tax-free donations. Please click the Donate tab at our website at CatholicUnderground.com. Enjoy the episode.
From the Catholic Underground.
Well, there. Welcome to CatholicUnderground.com, the podcast where your Catholic faith meets the digital continent. I'm Father Chris Decker, priest of the Diocese of Baton Rouge. I'm forgetting how the keyboard works, and sitting right next to me, Joshua LeBlanc. You know who he is. Hey, Josh.
In persona Bobo.
That's exactly right. And we would be remiss if we wouldn't mention our other partner in crime, Father Ryan Humphreys, who joins us on the other side of the screen, on the other side of the world. Hello, Father.
Hello, world.
It's good to see you, Father. You're looking well, and your bandwidth is seemingly there
For the time being.
as the screen pixelates. You know.
Yeah, just give it a minute; it'll fail.
That's right. That's right. So let's cut right to the chase, because I don't have this yet, and I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to spend $25 a year, which I guess, as things go, isn't too bad. But iTunes Match finally, after a retarded debut, and I mean retarded in the sense of the Italian word, not after a long sought after debut. It didn't launch on time,
Right.
but there was a retardando into it. They're finally there. Does it work?
I think it's worth it for $25 a year. Let's talk about some of the features, first of all. I think Father Ryan, as well as myself, Father Ryan has subscribed as addition to myself. Is that correct, Father?
Yes. Oh, yes.
One of the things I really enjoy about it is I was kind of really brought into it by the fact that I most of my iTunes library are CDs that I probably imported into it back whenever we were back in St. Ben. So you're looking at 12...
Back when CDs were young.
10 to 12 years ago, yeah. And for some reason, I don't know if it's importing and exporting, but a lot of these MP3s have bad sound, or messed up, or just cut off strangely and things like that. One of the great things about iTunes Match that I really like is the fact that you can is that it will take any song that's in your iTunes library and match it to a copy on Apple servers and automatically assign that to your account. So even if the copy is illegitimate, in that you've pirated it from somewhere in the past, or that maybe you've bought it from Barnes and Noble or Amazon or any of those other places where you can get MP3s, Apple will provide you with a completely and fully legitimate copy. And I don't remember the bit rate on that. What is it? Is it 320,
It's
Father?
320. They're very, very large files.
Yeah, and it was really nice because I took my laptop and I didn't have all of my entire library on it, but immediately, like 30 seconds after it started, it said, okay, you have 320 songs now in the cloud, which is really good. Because if you ever lose your device, that gives you the ability to re-download all of those things. And even if you have items in your library that Apple can identify, it will take and upload those to your portion in the cloud and keep it just for you, and not share it with other individuals in the event you need to download it again.
Now is it just sending placeholders to the cloud, or is it actual files? Because I'm wondering, because you get so much storage, right?
I don't think there's a limit in this storage, except for Apple has imposed a limit of 25,000 songs.
Oh.
So it seems to me it's really just kind of except for those items which Apple can't identify that it will upload. It seems like the rest are just like it marks them in Apple's database of, oh, he has rights or she has rights to download this in the future
gotcha.
because it was in their library.
Okay, Father, you had a little bit different experience of iTunes Match, didn't you?
Well, I've got about 8,000 songs in my library, and I've only bought probably 200 or 300 from Apple. I ripped a ton of CDs, and I also share music with a lot of people over thumb drives, a lot of college buddies. And so there's an enormous amount of music in my library. In a certain sense, I guess you could describe it pirated in that I didn't buy the CD, but there's just an enormous amount of it. So what it did is it scanned my pretty giant library, and it found that 4,000 of my songs could be matched, which meant that it went up and it said, okay, these songs are there. If you need to re-download it, you re-download it, no problem.
Right.
The other 3,000, it said, we're going to have to upload these one by one. And so it's been very slowly uploaded to the web for, I guess, did that start yesterday? I think this thing
Was it
turned
yesterday,
on?
Josh? Do you remember?
A couple of days ago, I think.
Oh, was it? Okay, but anyway, it's only got about 1,000 left, and so it's making progress. And the way it works is you can I said you can download them onto your device, or if the songs get deleted, you can download them back onto your computer. So I found on Matchable a guy who basically wrote this little hack to make a Match Tracks playlist. And then he said, okay, so you make the tracks playlist, then you just delete everything in the playlist from your library. And then you re-download everything as 320K, super high quality files. And so for about the last 7 hours, I've been re-downloading 4,000 high-def audio files to my computer. My library is at present about 55 gig.
So do these only go to computers that you've authorized for your iTunes account?
Yeah, it's using your iTunes ID,
So,
your Apple ID.
So my computer, as you may remember, was stolen by gypsies.
Right.
Well,
Come on.
I've never been able to deauthorize that computer, by the way. I have no
Really?
idea. Yeah, I don't know how.
all you got to do is call Apple.
Oh.
Pick up a phone, call Apple, and they'll reset your account. I've done that before.
Oh, cool. Because they've got my computer. I don't want them rocking out to my iTunes.
Yeah, one of the nice things, though, about this that we've yet to mention is the fact that this is all DRM-free stuff.
Oh,
So whenever you download it, what's one of the nice things, if you recall about a year or so ago, Apple DRM-freed all of their, most of their music. I won't say all. Well, maybe it's all DRM-free now.
I think it's all.
I think it's all. It's not all high quality, but it's all DRM-free. So that if you want, you can play these on devices that aren't authorized. So you
Right,
can
like
copy it to-
your Samba or whatever music device.
whatever little quasi MP3 player you have.
The not quite iPhone.
Yeah, and so that's one of the nice things about it because
So can I sign up for this right now on the show?
absolutely.
I mean, it sounds like something that would be useful for me because I myself have a large music collection over numerous computers, and in fact, they're all sitting right here around us. As a matter of fact.
And you actually have to update
imagine
your
this being
iTunes.
incredibly useful, just if you were out somewhere and you really needed to get, you just couldn't make it another minute with the Wicked soundtrack, and and you just didn't happen to have that on your iOS device, but you were going to explode if you couldn't hear Idina Menzel sing "Wonderful" with Joel Gray, and so you said, I've got to have that song, and I don't want to buy it because I didn't buy it from iTunes. I bought it from Amazon, but poof, with iTunes Matched, you can immediately gain access to that song, download it without having to pay for it, and you can listen to the dulcet tones of Idina Menzel singing "Wonderful" from the Wicked original Broadway cast.
For me, it would be Les Mis.
Yeah, it would be for me. But anyway, I mean, whatever the case would be,
And I kind of look at this iTunes Match as kind of like an amnesty sort of deal because the fact that Apple was able to get the big music manufacturers and outlets on to this sort of thing was probably no small feat for them to say, look, we're going to let everybody download their stuff no matter where they got it from. You can imagine the gasping that probably went on, but really for an individual, it's like I said on this week's episode of Twit, people in general, if they can buy it easily and you make it simple for them to do so, they're gonna buy it. Yeah. People will want to be honest. They want to buy a 99-cent song rather than going pirate. It's when you have individuals, for example, like in country music, Garth Brooks, who refuses to release his music on iTunes and forces you to go out and buy CDs, that go and look on don't go and look, but if you look on the torrents, it's a lot of his music that's being pirated because people can't download it. And people would happily pay to be honest with you, back in the day, whenever I would download music from a torrent or whatnot, it was because either you went to Walmart and you couldn't buy the CD, or you
Right.
had to order online and wait for 6 weeks for it to come in. It was simple, fast, and that was the reason you downloaded
was it, yeah.
And now that I can go to iTunes, pay 99 cents, or if you get the 69-cent special, or up to $1.29, I will happily go online, pay $1.29 for a song. In fact, I did it the other day because Annie had a song on her iPod that she got from somebody else, but it wasn't
Josh's wife.
my iTunes library. So I said, well, I'm going to buy it. So I just bought it and paid $1.29 for it. It's like, I already have it. It's like, yeah, but we didn't pay for it. So I bought it again. And I will happily, do that. And I think people in general want to do that. And I think the big five, the music people, are actually seeing that people want to do this.
I was going to do this live on the show, but I don't have a current iTunes. I have to upgrade to iTunes. So we'll move on to the next topic, and then if we swing back around, it could be something cool and interactive to do.
Yeah.
So best laid plans of mice and men. So we talked about people wanting to go the straight and narrow and to pay for these things if they're available. Well, really, MP3s, or whatever we call them, M3As, are really the way things are going now. And so in 2000 and I think in early 2010, let me look at in 2010, July 20th, 2010, Lisa France, a reporter for CNN, asked the question, is the death of the CD looming? They were asking the question, maybe it's happening. And so she began to speculate in an article on CNN that the CD sales were declining, and even though vinyl is coming back, CDs may be dead. Well, it looks as if
Absolutely true.
it looks like it's coming true. I've only seen it on one website, and that is Sideline Music Magazine.
Yep.
In fact, I'll pull it up here on the screen. Sideline Music Magazine is saying that CD format labels to be abandoned by major labels by the end of 2012.
Yeah, apparently that was the agreement. They all got together and decided by the end of 2012 they would stop producing music on CD.
Yeah, EMI, Universal, and Sony all declined to comment, but it says 3 weeks ago this source heard it for the first time.
When's the last time any of you bought a CD?
Like an actual CD?
Like an actual CD, physical media music.
I bought one a year ago. I bought the Jennifer Knapp, Kansas because I couldn't find it and I couldn't buy it anywhere. So I actually had to order it on a CD from Amazon and get it to my house and rip it.
Yeah.
And it was, and literally I got out.
It's been about a year for me
ripped
too,
it.
I think.
It's probably been
And-
2 or 3
and
years
threw it
for
away.
me.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, that I can just simply go to iTunes and the OCD in me a little bit. If I
I've got to have the entire album.
Well, not always, but if I like the majority of the CD, I'll buy the whole album. But the fact that I can simply just go into my iTunes and download that right then and there, first of all, it kind of feeds into our instantaneous factor that we want it right here and now.
Yeah.
But the fact that I can get it, and I can get it high quality, and what's really cool is, for example, the other day, as I'm driving to come see you, Father, I downloaded a song on my iPhone. By the time I got here, I open up my iPad and see that the song is downloaded on my iPad there
pretty
too.
cool.
So the fact that it's syncing across multiple devices, and I no longer have to do this, I'm really completely, fully wirelessly. It's the whole issue of pirating, again, all comes back to we talked about people wanting to be honest. I played that version of Auld Lang Syne for you yesterday, Father, that I liked. I bought it, what should I say, a year ago. I could not find this song online. So what did I do is I went to a YouTube video and ripped it so that I could have the thing on my iPhone. Because it was a Celtic version. I couldn't find this thing anywhere to buy. It wasn't online. Well, they finally made it available on CD. On iTunes and MP3 form. So what did I do? I actually went and bought the MP3 and got rid of the ripped copy because it was much better than whatever I ripped. But I think that's what people are going towards.
They just want the content.
They want the content, and they don't care how it's delivered to them. But, people are arguing that because you have the end of music media like this, that it's going to be the end of physical media altogether, and I just really don't see that.
I don't know. You look at, we mentioned vinyl. I know This Week in Tech was talking about it too. There's something about me. There are a couple of bands that I follow that I want the physical liner notes. I want the CD. Do you have that problem, Father Ryan?
No, and I don't think as many people. I don't think enough care.
Are as crazy as you are, Father. I know, yeah.
Well, no. I don't think enough people really care about that part of the experience to make it worthwhile. Because remember, the CD, the reason CDs are cheap to produce is because you're producing a metric buttload of. It's not
Which is a
cheap to
lot.
make 30 CDs. It's cheap to make a million, and I think vinyl is something that because it's slow, it's not cheap to produce in huge quantities. It can continue to have a niche market, but I don't think the same thing can be said of CDs or of tapes or laser discs or mini discs. I just don't see it. Now, I would imagine that DVDs, are right around the corner as well. Even Blu-ray, the United States and other countries can get to that. I think the amount is 25 down for everybody, even wirelessly on a network. Once you get there, it doesn't make sense to have any physical media of any sort. And I could see vinyl sticking around for a very small set of people. Yeah. And I could even see a new invention that Apple tried to do, what they call the LP, the
kind of enhanced,
kind of high quality product. Yeah. But I really don't see it. I don't see there being enough people with enough nostalgia. Because music has become a commodity. It's sad, but it really has. And anybody Spears from Hillary Duff? Really?
I don't think so. No. iTunes Match will reveal if I have or not.
Yeah. I mean, same thing with Adele and Norah Jones. I mean, it's too much of a commodity.
Yeah. And there really could be a music stock exchange. I would love to see that.
Well, I mean, when you look at it right now, LPs are really a novelty. That's the whole reason they've got the market. I mean, they've got a novelty. You have a generation that's never seen this thing before, and so people are fascinated by it. One of the things they were arguing on Twit this week, and Leo was arguing the side that, there was going to be no physical media anymore. And, John C. Dvorak brought up a good point, and I agree with him on this, is that he said, give it 5 or 10 years. Yeah. Leo was arguing that, before long, you're not going to have any magazines. Everything's going to be digital.
Media.
There's not going to be any print media, which is, directly contrary to what we were discussing on the show last week, that print media is up. But Dvorak was arguing, give it 5 years and it's going to be novel again. You're going to have some, team who's going around the corner and goes, hey, have you seen this thing? It's actually, it's like what I look on my iPad, but it's printed.
It's paper.
And it's informative. It's paper. I can turn pages, and when I'm done with it, I can just chunk it. That's exactly what's going to happen in 5 to 10 years. Now, I agree with you, Father Ryan, about, this is what's going to happen about CDs. I don't think we're at a point yet, or even close to a point yet, where we have enough storage media to even look at DVDs. Should I say the downfall of the DVD and the downfall of the Blu-ray? I mean, the fact that you can only get a 64 gig device from Apple, you can't put a whole lot of movies or anything like that, and even hard drive space hasn't reached a spot yet, I believe, for the average user where you can get rid of DVDs and Blu-rays. I think you're going to see those sticking around for probably another 5-10 years before we get to a point, because streaming is not, it's not for everybody. I'd rather have a physical copy, especially when you're riding in a car with Father Chris and Spotify doesn't know how to use 3G.
and it doesn't sometimes. We're discovering the dark underside of Spotify.
Yeah, I mean, Netflix is great, but there's something about the ability to have on a mobile device an actual hard copy that you can watch, and I think people really want that until we can reach an area where we have, terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of hard drive space, that we're not going to see that media go away.
No, streaming is available for only those who download and choose to use the product.
I think part of the equation, as I mentioned, was having that kind of, there was a magic number, and that magic number was 8 down.
Yeah.
That made internet video like YouTube possible. Yeah. And before everybody had 8 down, or at least half the nation had 8 down, it was considered absurd to think that anybody would want to watch streaming video on the web, because it was just slow, and who wants to keep gigantic files around? Once you get 25 up, 25 down, 25 synchronous is kind of the magic number, and you no longer really need to store. You can watch, and I'm not just talking about at your home computer. Yeah. I mean 25 up and down on the cell networks.
Yeah, sure.
Once you're looking at that number, then you no longer need to store local copies, and you really can stream full-on Blu-ray quality. And I would wonder how far we are away from those numbers, reaching a large group. But I would think that once we hit that, we're going to see the very quick departure of DVD. Certainly, I think Blu-ray may stick around for as many as 5 years. But I think DVDs themselves are certainly, I think, as long
Well,
for the world.
That is if they don't start throttling data.
Well, and not
that's
ju-
the problem.
not
Is the
just-
throttling,
Well, not just that.
the bandwidth caps.
My issue, exactly. My issue is not so much just throttling. It's this thing of, oh, you've only got 2 gigs of data per month. And if we still see cellular providers who are going towards getting rid
Yeah.
of unlimited plans and capping you after a certain amount of data, that's only going to hinder no matter what your data speeds is. It's great you could do 25 megs, a minute up and down.
Yeah.
But if you're capped, I mean, forget it.
Well, did Cabletown send you a letter saying that we're glad you enjoy our services, but you're going to be able to do so only at 250 megabytes a month?
I did not get that letter,
gigabytes,
but
I
you
should
told
say.
me about it.
I got it. I must be a heavy data user. This is heavy data, y'all. Heavy. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a streamer. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I was looking in my firewall the other day in my office, and I put a new server online that I'm hosting in my office now, and I did I'm doing about 20 gigs of bandwidth per day to my office, which is tremendous.
You have a business account, though.
Yeah, I do have a business account, and it's, but that's a lot of DNS queries and things like that.
Sure.
I mean, I can imagine over time that building up. I don't do a lot of video watching from my office, but I have not gotten that letter yet. But I mean, you look at other parts of the world, or even here. I live just south of Lafayette. If you look at Lafayette, where you can get speeds up to 100 megs synchronous up and down, and they've been talking in the next year. You're gonna be able to do gigabit up and down. Yeah, gigabit up and down
I'll
on their
take it.
network.
I'll take it.
That's crazy.
Especially when it's the 3G speed. I can't wait.
Yeah.
That'd be like a 6G speed, probably.
Well, a part of that equation is not just being able to get access to it, but it reaching a sense of ubiquity,
Yeah.
where most people have it, and it's something that and part of that equation is it's not limited by arbitrary caps of usage. And in our nation, we may be 5 years away from commoditization, but I don't think that it would be possible, at least not in the United States right now, for this kind of artificial capping for cell and for other coverage to really last, because as the rest of the world already has passed us by,
Right.
and as services start to become available in, say, the UK or in Sweden or in Korea of streaming high def video, it reaches that kind of point where the American public is no longer willing to sit by,
Right.
and capitalism takes over and basically says, okay, somebody else is going to show up that's going to do the work.
Yeah.
Google has already stepped into that to some degree, but I think the ubiquity is coming, and I think it's coming sooner rather than later.
I hope
and
so.
that, I think, is the abandoning of physical media.
Well, let's start placing our bets. Will Blu-ray be dead before Father Ryan sees 50 megs up and down in Campty?
Yeah. Yeah. Blu-ray, I think if Blu-ray makes 7 years, it'll be just shy of a miracle. I think Blu-ray needs to plan to hang up its cap by 2016.
Now, here's the other question on the table. Is Blu-ray the end of the physical media line, or are we going to look at higher
We're going to
physical
move
media?
back to laser discs. They're like the LPs of
No, I think hard drives become the next logical step. Not even flash, but hard drives.
Yeah. So just like buying a hard drive.
Well, I think hard drives will be the last ones to die.
Oh, I see.
Like
Until
your
everything's
1
in
and
the
2 and 3
cloud on a
terabytes,
server.
There will always, I believe, a need for high quality RAIDs.
Yeah.
And those, in order to be inexpensive for the next 5 to 10 years, will need to continue using spinning media.
Yeah.
But I think that's the last thing to go. I think entertainment physical media in the audio video space is dead and buried, and just is on its last breath. But like I said, I mean, the idea that we'd get rid of books and magazines is just absurd.
Yeah, right.
So I've got my iTunes all ready to go
It's ready
here.
to go.
I'll bring it up on the screen so that way you can see me fritter array $25 a year, which again, it's reasonable. It's very reasonable, I think. $25 a year for iTunes Match.
And what's crazy is that there are some pretty obscure artists on iTunes Match. I mean, I've got some really weird stuff here. I've got like Korean pop, and I've got I like Korean pop, and I've got some really weird kind of house music, some kind of like club and spa music, and some just strange music that I dig. and they know people like Josh Blakeslee. They know people like Keen. They know the Party Poppers. They know all these kinds of weird people.
He thinks I have weird music.
No, you do.
Well,
yeah, you have a lot of weird music too.
Now, I'll tell you now. You're not getting my full library because this is a relatively new computer. So I've purchased 2 albums on it. So you can see here. Let me see. Let me bring up the screen. So you can see this is my iTunes window, and I'm going to go to
matches on the left.
Just as a sideways thing, David Pearson asked if they have chant, and they have about half of the artists, including Katona Goriani, which is my favorite.
Okay, so you can get Gregorian chant there.
Yeah, I haven't tried my whole library yet, but
very cool. Okay, so I'm turning on iTunes Match, and then is it gonna?
It's gonna ask you to sign up.
Okay, so subscribe. Okay, so any of your songs already in the iTunes store are automatically available in iCloud. Listen at 256.
It's 256, not 320.
Okay. Oh, I thought it was. Okay.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I thought it was 322.
Okay, so I'm subscribing, and I put in
the magic word.
That's right.
It's pencil. The password is pencil.
That's right, pencil. Okay, and then I subscribe, and then we wait.
The password is banana.
Monkeys would eat this. Monkeys would eat it, and they'd find it very enjoyable. Sometimes other simians and
is it bananas?
That's correct. Bananas is correct.
Okay.
Very good.
Right. Definition: a delicious
I used
fruit.
to love the $25,000 pyramid.
No, that wasn't pyramid. That was password.
Oh, that's right. That was password.
That's right. Pyramid was where you see.
You had these things. You had to say this.
Yeah, things a vampire would say. Gee, your neck looks nice. Gee, I bit my lip. Things that a butcher would say. No, things a very inopportune date would say. Things a vampire would say. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so back to iTunes Match. iTunes Match is now matching my music.
Oh, 48 songs.
Right, the 48 songs. This is actually pretty good. 22 of 48 songs. And then it's going to upload the artwork and everything. So it's moving along pretty swiftly because of course I only have 48 songs on this computer.
It's over an hour and a half for the first step for me.
Yeah, I don't want to even see when I sit down with my Mac and try and do it because that's where my big library is.
You're right, DP Pearson. Betty White was always on Pyramid and Password at the same time, and she was awesome.
What things Blanche Devereaux would say?
And Miss Angie Dickinson. She would say that. Sorry, it's my limited knowledge of Golden Girls trivia. This is pretty pathetic. And you're joining us all on the Catholic Underground 4.
And then there's Maud.
That's right, that uncompromising, enterprising, anything with tranquilizing, right, old Maud.
Love me some.
All of this brings us into the notion and the morality of pirating. We talk about all this, and iTunes is kind of setting us straight, saying, okay, look, we're gonna bring you, and you're gonna make everybody in the music industry happy. You're gonna be on the level. So, is it a victimless crime to pirate? Is it illegal? We know that it's illegal, right, from a moral perspective.
Well, it's against the laws of the United States, and so we have to be clear. We have listeners who are not in the U.S. It's illegal to rip from a CD or DVD that you own or not, to any hard drive you own or not. No matter what, that's a violation of the CDMA.
So I bought the CD physically.
Yes.
I ripped it onto my computer so that I can listen to it.
When you pop the CD in and iTunes says, "Do you want to import this into your library?" Apparently, it's illegal to click that OK button.
It is a direct violation of federal law.
Yeah, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act.
Illegal to. Okay, noted.
Yeah, so to have that question. It's also illegal to distribute music or video, even music that you own. That includes reselling physical media, unless you just resell it to a licensed person.
Mm-hmm. So
there's that. It's not illegal to possess pirated music, but it is illegal to possess pirated video.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes television, music videos, movies, basically anything that is produced with a copyright or intellectual property markers on it.
Wow.
So that's what's illegal in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. In the U.S.
Yes.
And some international law, because you'll see sometimes on videos and things international.
It's very confusing. One of the worst countries in the world for this is Australia, where basically it's illegal to do everything in related to media.
You have to sign a waiver to use the bathroom. It's
Well,
actually
I mean,
on the
you
toilet
literally,
paper.
It's the kind of thing where you're not allowed to watch the television in somebody's window.
Oh, wow.
That's illegal. You know, even if you're the next door neighbor, you can't look at the window and look at the television. That's illegal.
That's silly.
Oh yeah. So those are all illegal things, and so I think that there is a larger question of intellectual property and have the right to possess what I've purchased or just the right to experience what I've purchased. But I think no matter what the larger issue is, the basic rule comes down to if it's not morally unconscionable to obey the law, then you ought to obey the law.
Sure.
Even if the law is stupid.
Yeah, which makes sense. So it's probably a good thing that Apple is doing this on the whole.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think it's
so.
on the larger picture, it's definitely good. I think that in the chat room, David Pearson says, "Well, thou shalt not steal." I don't know that necessarily applies here because we're not really asking a question of whether we're stealing. It's a question of, do I obey the law? Or do I not? Because the law itself is obviously idiotic, and I think there are very few people who would argue that the law makes sense. The law is obviously a game being played by people who own the royalties and who want to milk, as much money as they can out of people who are purchasing it. So the question of whether the law is just or not, and the question of all these intellectual property stuff doesn't really come down to theft. It comes down to a question of am I willing to obey the law of the land or am I not? Because really you're not depriving someone of property. If I download a Korean pop song that's unavailable in the United States,
and in most places in North Korea,
it's impossible for me to purchase it. And it's impossible for it to be theft.
Yeah.
But is that illegal? It is illegal in the United States. So it becomes a moral question of, well, should I do it or should I not? Should I obey the law or not? Not whether I'm stealing from somebody or not.
Well, we've talked about this before on the program, and I certainly understand the fact that if something is intellectual property of someone, yes, that person deserves to be paid for a product they've created. So I have no problem, purchasing, for example, a CD and paying rightfully for the rights to that CD. However, I've got a problem with when you have laws, for example. I tell you, well, once you purchase that CD, then I can tell you how you use that CD for your own use. You can't take that CD and put it on your you can't rip it to your computer and put it on your iPod. You have to download a digital copy. But it's so dumb about that law, and I'm going to point out the stupidity of it, is the fact that it's illegal to take a CD and rip it and put it in your iTunes library, but it's not illegal to take MP3s that you've downloaded and burn those to CD. Now that is
it's silly.
It's complete silliness because you could easily do that in iTunes, and in fact, it makes it an option. I think whenever they start telling you you can't. It's not like I'm taking this, and I certainly understand. I'm not going to take an MP3 that I've downloaded and go, oh, I'm going to go give it to 20 people or even sell it. I mean, I can understand that. You need to buy your own copy. Being somebody who's in the business, I certainly understand. If someone stole a website that I designed, I would certainly be very upset because, it is intellectual property of myself.
I was going to say, isn't this about paying back the person who made the particular intellectual property, who made the thing? And isn't that what we're talking about when we get into pirating? I mean, it's like, going to IKEA and buying a chair, and then with it, there's a terms of service that says, under no circumstances can you stand on this chair to change a light bulb, because we will fine you, and then it'll be illegal because you're not using it as a chair. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If I want to, use my poang to stand on, which it snaps in half and, cuts me through my shin, well, then...
Yeah.
I've actually, you've made your chair, now stand on it.
Yeah. It's whenever we start placing artificial, this is my problem, artificial limitations upon things that don't exist simply because the recording industry refuses to get a grip on what the current times are and make their money legitimately. They're going to look for every way to nickel and dime you to death. So we're going to put, again, artificial limitations upon something digital that don't need to be there. so that we can force you to buy 18 different copies because you want one on your eye. Even companies like Microsoft allow you to install Microsoft Office on 2 machines as long as you're not using both at the same time or you don't have 2 people using them. So I can install on my desktop and my laptop. That's included with every standard Microsoft Office license. The fact that if I buy the latest Brad Paisley CD and the Digital Millennium Copyright Act says all you can do is pop this CD in and listen to it. If you want it on your iPad, then you've got to go and download it in that format. But then I can have it on all my devices because I bought it again, is ludicrous to me. That's the only one that I really have the only part of the law again that I have a real issue with. Because
I don't own any of his albums.
It seems like an act of injustice to me on that part.
Yeah, and that's really there is. It seems there's a lot of gray area here, which is why if I can help it, I don't pirate music.
No,
because I personally don't want to get thrown in prison for.
But again, pointing back to all of this, when you have laws like this, you want to know why physical media is falling away.
That's right, yeah.
It's because if you can't buy physical media and turn it into digital media, then people are just going to buy digital media and say, forget with the darn CD.
Right. And if I want to share it, I'm going to email it to somebody or I'm going to figure out a way to get it to them.
Well, and it does remind us of the value of things being ubiquitously available.
Yeah.
About a week before any movie comes out on DVD, it's available on BitTorrent.
Yeah.
And you can download a full-on 8-gigabyte Blu-ray copy of the disc a week early. And why are people going to download it? Because they want the thing a week early, because we didn't survive without seeing Iron Man 2 for 8 more days or whatever, such nonsense. And, you have this whole problem is it's not like you're holding back. It's not like there's anything preventing you from making it available now. So why wouldn't you? It's using an old model of we have to release DVDs on Tuesday so that Blockbuster can get them, and other such ridiculous stuff. If it's ubiquitously available, I'm happy to pay for stuff.
Sure.
But if I can't get it and I still want it, I want to get access to it. A lot of the same problem with TV shows. Not to get off an entirely separate rant here, but TV shows are available on the BitTorrents about 15 to 20 minutes after they finish airing.
Yeah.
They're available on Hulu a week later. They're available on iTunes, if they're available at all, maybe the next day. And so what makes more sense?
Yeah.
Just get it for free, or to get it right away, or to artificially wait a week.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
Analogously, with regards to religion, this just pops in my head. You look at what we've learned in the church, for example, with regards to the use of extraordinary form of the Mass. When people want something, when they want the extraordinary form of the Mass,
they'll go get it.
And you don't give it to them, where do they go? SSPX.
Ah.
Sure.
They go to illicit sources to get what they want. But look at the individuals since since they've expanded since Summorum Pontificum. A lot of people who who left the church over that have come back because of their love for something, and they can get it legitimately.
Right.
Joshua, this is the Catholic Underground. That's very good. That's a very good analogy. In fact, it's almost seamless, that analogy. Let's check in, shall we, on our iTunes match and see how that's going.
Now we know.
That's right. Now we know.
Know now.
So you can see what's happening is right now it's interesting. It's uploading my CU episodes to the cloud. I don't know what to do with that. I mean, it's uploading that now to the cloud.
I want to go and tour this data center.
Is that the one in North Carolina?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, could you imagine the number of hard drives they've got to have in this place?
The reason they won't let Joshua tour it is because he would drool all over the floor.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Well, he'd still mint julep everywhere. Mint
julep.
Y'all, I think I need to walk through this with a mint julep.
Oh, gosh.
You can't tour the center, folks, without a julep.
That's beautiful. So hopefully we've properly killed that horse. But I'm sure it'll come up again because we've talked about piracy before, and not like the pirate kind, but the digital pirate kind.
Yeah.
Now, keeping with the notion of media, though, books are really they've always been the subject of piracy. In fact, Joshua and Father Ryan and I know of a really good place in Italy that they'll pirate your books for you. They don't care about copyright.
Yeah.
In fact, the name of the place is Not Just One Copy.
That's exactly it. You can bring any book there. They will
Right.
take and copy that thing and bind it for you in 20 minutes. I mean,
But the cool thing about it is iTunes really paved the way for things like the Nook and the Kindle and these an iBook and that sort of thing. And so what ended up happening was these the Kindle Fire and the new Nook tablet are here, aren't they, Father? Now you have a new Kindle, correct?
I do, but I don't have the Fire. I have the El Cheapo $79 Kindle.
That's really the only one I want. The Fire is basically a little itty bitty iPad, and I don't need that.
Well, the Fire is a portal into Amazon.
It's an
You can
Amazon
watch
portal.
Amazon movies. You can listen to Amazon music. You can read Amazon books. You can buy Amazon products. It really a vessel, a sacred vessel for selling stuff on Amazon.
So it's kind of a tabernacle to Amazon.
Yeah, in a mildly blessed way. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's,
that's terrible.
now, I've never...
But it's not intended to be an iPad.
Yeah.
You can get Amazon apps and Android apps, but its real purpose is to say, look, make Amazon your media locker for everything, and this device is going to be your dream device.
Yeah, I know personally that I've stuck with Kindle as my default reading on my iPad and just abandon iBooks because I think it's useless. I don't know a lot about these e-reader devices because I've never really looked into them a whole lot. I mean, I've used Father's Kindle a few times, and it saved us in Rome because of its free 3G access.
In fact, I'd like to get the new Kindle, but I have to get the 3G one just in case that's the only thing I have when I'm overseas.
Yeah. Now, the new Nook, this is really a big fight between the top two. I mean, you've got Barnes & Noble really fighting against Amazon on this, and Amazon has got just a lot of clout when it comes to this simply because of their ability to cross over so many devices, and they've been really viable. And one of the really cool things, though, I like about the new Nook is offering, and I didn't know this was something they were offering, but Barnes & Noble found a way to beat Amazon at least somewhere. One of the cool things that I've heard is that you can take your Nook, go into any Barnes & Noble, and what it does is, what's the first thing you do when you walk into Barnes & Noble? You see people everywhere who have picked up a book off the shelf and are sitting down to read it. Supposedly what happens is you walk in on Barnes & Noble, it automatically knows, it connects to their computer system, knows every book that is in stock in that Barnes & Noble, and you are able to sit down with your Nook and preview and read through copies of books that are on the shelf there, so you don't have to physically go pick up a copy. And if you want to buy it, then you simply say, buy right there on your device while you're in.
So they keep you in the store.
They keep you in the brick and mortar, and that's something that you can't get with Amazon.
That's something that Starbucks always tried to do, was make Starbucks the third place, right? You got home, you got work. Starbucks is the third place.
And then Taco Bell was fourth mill.
Generally, that's right. 11Z's was always at either the Bob Evans or the Perkins, which we don't have, none of those, or the Denny's or whatever. But it seems that's what Barnes & Noble is trying to do. Well, we'll give you every book.
Yeah.
In the place. As long as you're here.
And then what does Amazon do? If you're a Prime member, then you get one free book a month.
Yeah.
So.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Not on the iPad devices. It has
but
to
on
be
a
an
Kindle
actual
itself.
Kindle. Yeah.
That's cool.
And then, of course, you have the Kindle sharing library, too.
Yeah, I mean, the loan library is astounding. You can only have one book at a time. I believe that's the rule. But you can borrow it, and pay nothing. It's completely free.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, if you're watching us on the video feed, we've lost Father Ryan's video. These things happen occasionally, especially when you've got a trickle for your bandwidth. We're just happy to have them in audio, so we're going to keep on going. But
both of these devices are really trying to get themselves up and running before this Christmas season. So much that if you've seen some of the commercials, you have Amazon touting the Fire and trying against the Nooks, making different comments and whatnot. They've really tried hard to not call themselves a tablet though so much with the what you call it, the Kindle Fire. They're really trying to focus on the fact that it's really still primarily a device for reading and for entertainment. They're not. Doesn't seem like they're really trying to be an iPad replacement.
Except for the movies, except for the music,
Yeah.
except for all that. It's a book. It's a book.
But that's exactly what they're trying to say. They're really not trying to compete with the iPad because there's a big market for people who really don't want to pay more than $200 to $300 for a device, which is why some people will never buy an iPad because for them that's too much. But you're looking at to be honest, the 60 and over crowd. Those are the people who are going to look at a Kindle Fire and go, "Oh,
$200,
that.
I can do it." Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I myself, I really do like the Kindle app on the iPad, and I have a feeling I'd like the Kindle if I got one of the new ones. Yeah.
In an interesting turn of events, both the Kindle Fire, the Kindle Fire actually supports the Barnes & Noble Android app. So you can buy the Kindle Fire and gain access to the BNN.
That's perfect, Amazon. That's perfect.
I love it.
It's hard to imagine Barnes & Noble would allow that.
Well, I mean, people said Amazon was crazy for putting their app on the iPad.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Why not? It's there to sell, and so if somebody wants to buy,
they're getting money. Yeah, right.
Yeah, Apple would never do such a thing. It's completely against their thought process, which is why you'll never see iBooks on any other platform.
Right, that's true.
Right.
We have someone.
You'll never see any books in iBooks.
Well, that's
true enough. Yeah, although they seem to be cornering the magazine market pretty well.
Yeah, but it's not a very good experience. Have you read a couple?
I've read a couple. I enjoy reading Wired on the iPad.
They're so expensive.
Well, it's part of my subscription. Interestingly enough, if I get a print subscription to Wired, I get the iPad app for free.
Well, and that's the stupid thing about those things. Not that, why can't, for example, I get a Wired subscription. I don't care if the price is the same. If I don't want the paper copy, why can't you just give me the digital copy?
They're piling up in my house.
Well, yes, exactly what happens. They still send you both copies. And so if you walk into my office right now, what's the first thing that happens? I take the copy of Wired out of the magazine, out of the mailbox, and I stick it in the magazine rack, and it sits there until I have to clean it out and throw things away because I'm reading it all digitally. I just want the content.
Right, exactly. So that's an interesting thought. Let me choose how I want it. I will pay the same price.
Yeah.
Maybe, unrighteously so. Although it's got to cost more, and maybe not. It seems to me that since these e-magazines or whatever we want to call them have animation, and really the Daily has led the fray with this. And the Daily is a beautiful publication aesthetically. It's
losing enormous amounts of.
It is, because everybody else is catching on. But it's got to cost a good bit of money to have programmers and whatnot that are doing that every day and every month.
Absolutely, but my whole point is that they're not charging for that.
Right. They're charging you for the print
copy.
Yeah.
So, offer me an either or even both.
Yeah.
But give me the option to opt out if I don't want the paper copy. And guess what? Then you don't have to pay the postage, and you can actually spend my money that I'm paying you to do something else other than remind me 18 times to renew.
That's right. And then 10 years from now, remind me that the paper copy could still exist, and maybe I'll get that out of novelty.
Yeah.
So I don't know. At any rate, so that's I'm excited about where e-readers are, and I think that it's good that there's some competition out there, because that's going to build you a better iPad. It's going to build a better Kindle, a better Nook, even though I don't really like the name.
Yeah, I just don't know where the future.
I think that's what I called my pacifier when I was a toddler, which is why I don't like the name. I've grown up. I'm not going to suckle on an e-reader.
One of my big things is the hallmark of e-readers has always been the fact that it has the e-ink.
Yeah,
and that it's able.
I really like that.
The battery lasts forever. That it's so easy to read, and what happens, the Kindle Fire completely abandons that.
Yeah.
And so it's really lost. I think I don't know how well it's going to do, because to me it's lost all of the hallmarks. I don't know how. What about the Nook, Father Ryan? Do you happen to know? Is it e-ink or is it not? I don't think so.
The new Nook, I don't think so. Or is it, and it's got that color? Or is it all color? I think we lost Father Ryan. Joshua, keep speaking. Oh, no, there he is.
I'm sorry.
Your headphone fell off.
Literally, I looked over to the side and they fell off my head.
Yeah, ask your question again, Joshua.
The color e-ink on the color Nook?
That's what I'm asking. Is the Nook, is it e-ink?
The first two were, but the Nook tablet is not.
See, this is my whole thing, is that they're abandoning what was so attractive to these things and made them so easy to read, made the battery life spectacular, and that people really liked about it. And I'm wondering how that's going to really work out for both of these.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
but it's not a
both of them-
tablet.
That's not that.
Right, but both of these devices, both lines are maintaining the e-ink devices.
Yeah.
Right, which
but
is
you're right. I mean, they're
which is wise.
saying we're not a tablet, but they're stepping right there into the tablet.
I
world.
can't wait until the color e-ink days. That's going to be awesome.
Well, it's already out there. It's just super expensive.
Well,
Yeah.
like OLEDs and all that.
Yeah, but I mean, it kind of like EGA graphics on the old on your old rocking the 360 while you're trying
You
to play
can get
Castlevania.
32 colors.
Yeah,
You get a very limited amount.
You're never
of
gonna
color
need
and a very
64.
limited amount of pixelation. So you really can't do graphics. You can't do comic books. And so you wonder, well, what's the good point except doing the rubrics in red and the other stuff.
Father Ryan, it's making me blast of the past. I can remember sitting there with Windows 3.1 and going, wow, 16 colors. Awesome.
I used to remember overclocking my car going from AGA to XGA
Oh,
that's right.
and going, awesome, man! I just got 256 colors out of this car. This is awesome.
It's overclocking your graphics accelerator.
Yeah.
There was a hack that you could convince your card it was actually an XGA card, not an EGA card. It's
and then everybody was like, what's this 32-bit thing? I don't understand.
And that
awesome.
is the Catholic Underground.
What that was. It was so confusing.
Gosh, this is the geekiest show we've ever done.
In a while, that's true. That's for true. And you're still hanging with us. We appreciate it. Now, kind of like the secular scripture has the biography of Steve Jobs become, and there are more gems that are being extracted from it, including the posthumous Steve believes that Apple now has all of the tools that it needs to reinvent the television. What of it? What of it, Father?
Well, he doesn't say in the book what those tools are.
Which is wise.
But for the end of the book, he says that the next big project Apple is working on is not just a Apple TV, not just an add-on device, but it's a full-on television. And Apple intends to reinvent the experience of watching TV from the bottom up.
I buy it.
Yeah.
Based upon
I mean,
where is it? This thing right here, the iPhone 3G, which I've downgraded to because the 3GS. So the 4 died. The 3GS managed to vibrate itself into the bathtub. I know, Podcastington. That's the way it is. And so I'm down to my 3G. But based upon this device alone, slow and antiquated as it is, I would buy whatever the Apple TV is because I know that this experience is going to be good.
Yeah, well, and this
And
is
Steve
the
has
third
worked to
generation
build that.
device from Apple. The first Apple TV was obviously a mess, but it was a 1.0 device.
Right.
The second Apple TV is extremely compelling. It's
good.
a very good
Yeah.
device. And I could imagine that a third generation device that understands, one, the need to get access to content,
Yeah.
not new but old, two, the ability to rent and get streaming high quality stuff that you want to get,
Yeah.
and three, the ability to interact with YouTube, with Netflix, with Hulu, with all the HBO devices, all that kind of stuff, all the apps.
Well,
The ability to get at all those things and do it right.
Yeah.
That's the real secret. And and if we can find a way to talk to all those things.
Yeah.
And of course, right now, what's obviously the bottleneck are the producers.
Yeah.
Had this
Just like
conversation.
Yeah.
the RIAA.
Right, but if Steve thinks that he finally cracked it, and that's what he does believe, and that's the big device everybody believes, all the pundit believes, that's the next device that Apple is working on furiously. All the gnomes and Oompa Loompas are vigorously preparing for that product.
you know, at this point, I can be honest, based on what I've seen with the Apple TV, if Apple invents an actual TV, my biggest problem is, give me a darn internet browser. I mean,
Yeah.
why can't you give me Safari? That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing that has kept me from getting one. For the longest time, I had thought about I was going to get a Google TV, but I don't know if y'all saw the news this week that
Gone.
Logitech.
Yeah.
Well, it's still going to
They're
make Google
stopped,
TV.
right.
Logitech has said that's it. The end of this
They
run.
pulled out of that,
We're not doing
yeah.
this anymore. It's a complete waste of money. Nobody's bought the thing.
Well,
But
remember the secret here, I think, is Siri. The
Yeah.
ability
Siri.
to talk to your television and say, TV, go find me, hotmail.com. I don't know how you do that, but being able to put together the pieces of the iOS
Yeah.
devices, the apps, and also something like Siri, and also the ability to do kind of almost Connect style.
Yeah.
Use a webcam, put the
Yeah.
whole picture together. you could see it being incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
But you could also see it being the finest television. No need for remote control.
For those of you who may not be the geeks among us, Siri is the voice-activated computer on the iPhone 4S and iOS 5 devices after the 4S. So you basically can just speak in real time, and Siri understands what you're saying and goes and fetches the data.
Yeah.
Imagine saying, Siri or TV, bring me to CatholicUnderground.com, and it goes, all right, doodle-doodle, and you don't have to type anything.
Yeah.
Or you have TV. I want you to record all the episodes of Law and Order that come on,
Ding, 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 ding.
and having it record that. Or Siri, stream me the last episode of Lois and Clark.
Yeah.
or just.
I'm sorry,
find
Father
the
Ryan. I'm afraid I can't do that.
I'm sorry.
That
I
was a
cannot
terrible
pirate for
show,
you.
Father.
But that becomes kind of in a sense
Yeah.
really mind bending.
Putting the
Be able
pieces
to
together.
Tell your TV what you
But-
want, and it's not just tell me what's on Oprah's network right now. It's find this for me.
I agree, but and for me as a business owner, my biggest thing though is what's keeping me from getting one is if I can't show a customer, if I can't show a client a website
Yeah.
on the way it
One
exists
device.
now on the device, then the device is useless to me.
Yeah. Even the Roku doesn't have a web browser,
No.
does it?
And there's no reason it couldn't have one because a Roku is basically just a version of Linux running with GUI on top of Linux.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm sure somebody out there has probably
Which,
hacked it.
by the way, EWTN is now available on Roku.
Yeah, and the quality's okay.
If you have an internet connection but no cable,
Yeah.
and you don't want to get cable, but you do have internet with some bandwidth, EWTN, the U.S. feed, the Spanish feed, and the U.K. feed is on Roku now. You can search in the channel store. So that's a really good option. I was thinking about that the other day, and matter of fact, that it's there. So that was an aside, but really cool.
But, we've never talked about Siri before really on this program because
No.
I don't think any of us have upgraded yet.
I don't have the 4S yet. I'm waiting until
either.
I'm upgrade friendly and get a little Christmas money.
My brother got it. And
Yeah.
I kept telling myself, you know what, I'm never going to use Siri. And I sat down with it for about 30 minutes and I was like, man,
You were in
this
love
is
with her.
Awesome. Because even I was sitting down the other day, I was at a customer site and I needed something from a hardware store. And I was like, okay, how am I going to find
Where's
the nearest hardware store?
You're asking in your head,
Yeah,
where's the nearest hardware
And
store?
so my first thing goes, I'm going to go search Google, but even Google doesn't give me anything in proximity.
Right.
Man, it would have been nice to sit there and have Siri and just gone, where's the nearest hardware store? And it would have given me those results right then and there. So I'm seeing the real usefulness of Siri, and I agree with Leo in that it could be a Google killer.
Could be. That's why Google's scared.
Yeah.
They ought to be.
It should be, but that's good because this helps with competition and humanity bettering itself and all that other Jean-Luc Picard stuff, which is a good thing.
A gulch.
But to make the argument too that Google's got its hands in so many other fires now, I'm wondering.
Not the Kindle Fire.
I'm wondering if the loss of search would really be that big of a hit for them with regards to the fact that they've got, their Google Docs, they've got Google Apps, they've got all those things that
It
people really
would
rely on.
because of AdSense.
Well,
Yeah, that's
It
their
would.
primary purpose.
That's right.
is this.
Yeah. Yeah, they're basically a Madison Avenue billboard with a couple of neat things tacked on. When you get right down to the bones of it. We are a podcast about technology and faith.
Mm-hmm.
And as it happens, a big weekend is coming after this one. And it's not just because next week is Christ the King, or this
it's a
coming
physical
Sunday.
media weekend.
But it is it's a physical media weekend, the first Sunday of Advent. Father, are you ready?
Oh, I'm so ready.
The altar is prepared. The communion rail is in place. The missile is ordered.
I got my
The
copy.
4
in.
missiles are ordered.
That's right. Are you ready to launch the missile?
Yes, actually, the missile is already it's already steaming. The ribbons are all set and appropriate, and I'm actually bringing them with me this weekend. I will be taking away the old missiles from the missions this weekend, and they will be there is a fire with them. That is
They'll be
ready to
dispatched with all
consume
due
them.
precedence.
Oh, they will be consumed because I don't want anyone to even know they exist. I could forget they ever existed. That was fine too.
Yeah, that's it's going to be interesting. I know that we've been preparing our parishes. In fact, one of my private intentions for this final Sunday of the liturgical year, Christ the King, is Lord, be the King over the translation. Be the King over the liturgy, and help our hearts and minds and mouths to conform to all of this. But I'm excited. I mean, just reading through it, kind of preparing myself. The prayers are beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I love the fact that they've gone back to actually calling it the collect instead of the opening prayer.
Yeah.
Simple changes like that make it very beautiful.
Yeah. It really, I feel connected. I'm using I feel language, Joshua. I feel connected to the Church of the Ages, just in some of the retranslations that are just evocative of the saints speaking them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even the second Eucharistic prayer, which is the shortest of all of them,
It's beautiful.
is beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
You could almost see Hippolytus writing it, if indeed he did.
Well, what I found interesting is I'm doing a series of radio shows for Radio Maria right now, and as soon as I finish them, I'll podcast them on this feed.
Mm-hmm.
But the third show was basically about sacred music, and it was about the introit. And I was talking about how the church has always intended us to the introit is kind of like a thesis for that particular mass.
Yeah.
And I was talking about how priests a lot of times say, well, the beginning of Advent is marked by this, but the later parts of Advent are marked by joy or anticipation or all these kind of things. And people come up to me all the time and they say, oh, Father, where's the code book? You say the beginning of Lent is marked by this disposition, and the end is marked by this. And my answer is the introits. And now we have those introits. They're translated. They make sense.
That's right.
And just if you read the 4 introits from Advent, you get this very clear sense of, well, the beginning is about waiting. And then the third Sunday is about joy. And the fourth Sunday is the immediacy of Christ. And just reading through the introits of the church here, you get a very clear idea of what attitude the church wants us to have each different Sunday in celebration throughout the church year. That's really cool. It's so cool. In addition to that, the 2 new prefaces of the saints are really, really attractive. And I, for one, am super pumped to be climbing into that. I'm also extremely pumped that there are no more of those god-awful prayers after communion from that Sunday in ordinary time. I never have to say ever again, may this Eucharist have an effect in our lives.
Because it does. If you're in a state of mortal sin, it still has an effect in your life by negation.
I felt dirty all over every time I had to say that prayer. It just made me disgusted.
It was a little.
The Eucharist have an effect in our lives.
It was a little sloppy.
Good God, just offensive to faith. And so thankfully, we're done with those prayers. Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So moving from the Missal, from the Feast of Christ the King, which is upcoming, Father, are you doing a Eucharistic procession?
No, we're actually in the midst of all the liturgical changes, and the last thing I need to do is throw more to them. So this year, we're not doing anything Eucharistic after Christ the King. We're simply going to kneel down and say the consecration of the world to the Sacred Heart of Jesus.
Perfect.
And Mass. Yeah.
That's a good thing. We're actually going to do a Eucharist. This will be the second year we're doing a Eucharistic procession. Right. The Knights of Columbus are coming, hat and sword, and the Knights of Peter Claver, the Ladies of Peter Claver Auxiliary, the Catholic Daughters. Everybody's going to be there, and we'll process to the cross in the cemetery, and I'll enthrone the monstrance there, and I think we'll probably say that consecration prayer. The world needs to be consecrated to the Sacred Heart of Jesus.
That's One priest carries him around. That priest is Father Chris Decker.
Yes, that would be. I'm one
Don
of them.
Don LaFontaine.
Yeah. That's right. And then we'll process back into the church and do the benediction. So it ought to be interesting. I love Christ the King. Probably one of my favorite feasts of the year.
Oh yeah,
probably so. So a lot of stuff happening. Something else that's happening that's really good is what we like to call the pick of the week. That's right, pick of the week. We're still trying on the new thing. But at any rate, let's Joshua, you got a pick of the week. In fact, it's under your sandwiches.
Yeah, actually, if I can, let's see.
I'll take your sandwiches.
My pick of the week is actually the Apple World Travel Adapter Kit. I'm going to hold this up here for the screen for you to see. If you've never bought one of these, the way I came about it, actually, I didn't need the World Travel Adapter Kit whenever I bought it. I got my iPad, and I needed a second charger for an
USB charger.
A USB charger for the iPad. And I'm walking in the Apple store, and I was like, well, the brick is $30. The sync cable is another $20, so that's going to cost me $50. Then I'm like, oh, look, here's the World Travel Adapter Kit, which includes the brick, the sync cable, and all the adapters for around the world, including the U.S., for $39. I mean, you save $20 plus you get all these adapters. Definitely, I know Father brought it.
Well, that's the thing is, you know how the brick works, right? The brick has that little thing where you can take the different things off.
Yeah.
Worked perfectly. I snapped off the U.S. one. I put the Italian one on, and bam.
And what's great, this will work on your MagSafe devices. It will also work on your Airport Express. So if you want to take your Airport Express overseas,
that's awesome,
and use it to create your own little Wi-Fi, if you've got wired, this will do it.
You actually would be one of the only people in Italy with Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I would happily buy like 10 of these instead of pay $20 and $30. I mean $50 for sync cables and all of those things. So the Apple World Travel Adapter Kit.
That's cool. My pick of the week is a book. We've been talking a lot about books this episode as well. And I wanted some good reading whenever I was headed to Rome. And so I fell upon this book not too early before we went to Rome. It's called The Secret Cardinal by Tom Grace. If you like suspense, if you like the military go get him out of prison type of thing, this is a really good book. Be aware that there is some language in it, because some of these guys are Navy SEALs and Marines and whatnot in it. So there's some authentic language in it. But all in all, it's a really well written book. It's about a cardinal that is in pectore, a cardinal that's made secret by the Pope, that happens to be one of the Chinese bishops who the Pope makes a cardinal in secret. And so it's basically a prison break book.
And if you recall, when John Paul II died, there was still a cardinal in pectore who we will never know who he was.
That's exactly right. We think that he was one of those Chinese cardinals.
Yeah, we think it was one of those Chinese bishops.
Yeah. We don't know. But anyway, really good book. Again, just be aware of that. Someone's asking Cardinal in pectore. I don't know if he wants to know what it means, but it's a good question to ask. If there is a man that the Holy Father wishes to make a cardinal, but he cannot do so publicly at a consistory for reasons of diplomacy or reasons of the health or safekeeping of that man,
right,
he can make him a cardinal in secret. In pectore,
right,
meaning close to the heart.
And essentially, his name is not announced.
Right.
But at a later date, and this has actually happened before, where the Pope makes someone a cardinal in pectore, and then maybe 2 or 3 consistories later will announce who he is. One of the benefits of that is that you actually you get to receive all of your seniority in the College of Cardinals goes back to the time that you were named, not whenever it was revealed. So. We have seen those instances where, for example, someone was part of the underground church in China, and so if they would have been named a cardinal, their life would have been surely at risk. At risk. And so the Holy Father has done that on occasions. And if in the event that the Holy Father dies, what usually happens is
if it becomes known.
Yeah, if it becomes known, because what's supposed to happen is that name is supposed to be recorded, and only the Holy Father knows who that is, and that name is given to the next pontiff, and he can choose whether or not to make that person a cardinal or not. And if he chooses not to, then it's never known, and that man is never made a cardinal. Yeah,
actually, really, the book is actually very good because it's obvious that the author did some very good research on this. So it seems to me, just in my reading, and I'm a pretty scrupulous reader when it comes to matters of theology, as we all should be, it seemed to be pretty correct. Really good stuff. There's also stuff about papal elections and whatnot. So good thriller, good prison break, and good kind of journey of faith type of thing too. But it's a little crude, so beware of that. That's my pick of the week. It's available on Kindle and, of course, for reels if you want the paper as well. Father Ryan, your POTW.
The Holy Father today encouraged all Christians and Catholics to pray the Psalms and the Liturgy of the Hour. He was very, very specific that the Psalms are a prayer book that every Christian could benefit from. And one of the ways we can do that is by buying the Liturgy of the Hours and then spending 6 to 8 to 9 centuries figuring out exactly how to operate said book.
True.
Even if you went to seminary and even the new one, God help you if you decide you want to use the old one. He's the only one who can help you because, frankly, I've spent a year doing it and I still can't get it right. But for those who don't have 6 or 7 or 8 centuries to decode yon Liturgy of the Hours, there is Magnificat, a magazine that's published by a bunch of Frenchmen, and it is a really interesting book that has a little brief morning prayer, a brief evening prayer. It has the mass readings of the day, and it also has a lot of little kind of spiritual gems associated with it. They do an Advent companion and a Lenten companion, both of which are excellent and which are quite reasonable and quite inexpensive to take part in. And so what I'm recommending this week is the Magnificat magazine. Subscriptions are not overly expensive, and it really is a spectacular way to kind of build a more structured prayer into your daily life. It's not the full Liturgy of the Hour. Priests can't cheat using Magnificat, but laity, it's a spectacular way to dive in. And so, Father, I don't know if you have the exact price up or not.
Yeah, I do. 6 months of it, which is, basically half a year. Actually half a year. Sorry, I've never really done the math. $24.95. Father, mercy, have mercy.
As it turns out, 12 hours is half a day, and 6 months is half a year.
Basically half a year, yeah. A year of it is $44.95. 2 years is $79.95. And then if you want 50% off the cover price, 4 years of it is $139.95.
And a lot of Catholic books you go into are going to have a couple of these sitting by the register.
Yeah.
So you could try it out and just see. But it's a really worthy book. And of course, my parish always gets the Advent and the Lenten companions because they're just wonderful.
Yeah.
And so do look into Magnificat and look into. They have a number of products. Certainly, their Central magazine is a great and worthy pick.
Very cool. And, of course, we have an Audible pick of the week this week.
We would like to thank Audible.com for their sponsorship of CatholicUnderground.com. Audible is the world's leading supplier of audiobooks and spoken word digital audio. If you surf over to audibletrial.com/Catholic Underground, you are going to get 2 weeks free to try the service out. The Gold Plan is going to offer you an audiobook every month and give you access to tons of free and discounted material, books, magazines, daily newspapers like the Journal and the New York Times. Turn your commute, your time at the gym, your yard work into something meaningful. Bob Costa says you should do it. This week, we'd like to recommend the excellent book by C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity. Now, I've recommended this book in a lot of different ways. The audiobook is second to none. There's this dry British guy who reads it, and it is the finest way to
really brings
take in
C.S. Lewis alive.
When you get into the section of this book that's about ships and how the moral life is like the inside of a ship and like a fleet of ships, not ships in convoy, and he's just going, a ship must be turned, and it's just this delightful over-the-top British accent. It really gives you a sense that Lewis is reading it to you. So Christianity, to audibletrial.com/Catholic Underground and drink it up.
Can we get John Cleese to read it?
Actually, John Cleese reading the Screw Tape Letters is also available.
It's very good.
That is hysterical. The speech at the end of Screw Tape Letters is unstoppable.
Yeah. So, again, audibletrial.com/Catholic Underground, and we get a little portion of what you would use for, we get a portion of your free subscription.
Right.
So
you don't have to spend anything. Just head on over, sign up for free subscription. If you like it, keep it. If you don't, get rid of it. Catholic Underground benefits.
That's right. And we thank you for those of you who've done that. We thank you especially for those of you who have donated to us in the past and those of you who've set up a recurring donation on our website. It's keeping our bills paid, which is good, which is very good. That way we can keep coming to you intermittently as of late, just because of Father and my schedule and Joshua's schedule. But we have every intention of continuing to come to you. So thank you for those of you who are regular with your subscriptions, and those of you who are trying us out on audibletrial.com/Catholic Underground. So thank you very much for that. All right. Well, If you want to find out more about what it is that we do, and I mean, just about everybody wonders what it is we really do, you can head over to CatholicUnderground.com. There, you're going to find our Twitter feed stuff, how to get to our Facebook page where stuff goes on. If you want to view some of our other video podcasts that we've done in the past, which we think are pretty good, head over to CatholicUnderground.com. That's the way to do it. Joshua LeBlanc is the iTunes matchmaker at cybercatholics.com, and he joins us live in Studio 1A today. He's at JR LeBlanc on Twitter. Hey, Josh, thank you very much.
iTunes, make me a match.
Find me a find, catch me a 256 kilobyte file. Thank you, Mrs. Doubtfire, for plowing that into my head forever.
And drive-by fruiting.
It was a run-by fruiting. It was an angry member of the kitchen staff. Did you not tip them? Father Ryan Humphreys. His church is online at campdcatholicchurch.com, and all of his personal Mrs. Doubtfire-related posts are on Twitter at FR Humphreys. Thank you, Father Ryan, for joining us.
It's been my privilege.
And you know me, I'm Father Grisdecker. I'm privileged to be here, and you can follow me on Twitter at Digital Catholic. We want to thank you. It's been our privilege to be here with you. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with us on this digital continent. We're Catholic Underground, and we're Faith Gone Digital. We'll see you next time.
From the Catholic Underground.